Hi guys, my name is Bobby and welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing, it's not really a tag, but I've seen other booktubers do it when they're kind of fairly new, and it's 20 to 25 bookish facts about me. So I compiled a list because I tried filming this one other time and I didn't have a list and it was terrible and I miscounted like 4 times, so we're just not going to do that again. Also, I apologize for the lighting. It is a really gloomy day out today and I only have time to film right now, so we're just going to work with it and we're going to go with it. So let's get started. Number 1, I hate it when people dog your pages, especially if I let them borrow one of my books. Do not dog your pages. That's what bookmarks are for. I don't care if you use a receipt, like a string. There's tons of other things. Don't dog your page. Books are precious. Number 2, I started reading at age 2. My mom was a stay-at-home mom at that time. My parents weren't married very long, but she was a stay-at-home mom at that time, and after she was done with her morning chores, or whatever, which wasn't much when she was there every day, she would get bored. And so she taught me how to read. She taught me my letters and all that stuff and taught me how to read on her spare time. So by 2, I was reading. Number 3, when I was in kindergarten, I had to go into an advanced class when it came time for reading. I mean, granted, back when I was in kindergarten, we still took naps, but when we were learning how to read, I had to go up into the 2nd or 3rd grade class in kindergarten to do my portion of the reading because I was more advanced than everybody else, because I was already reading before I entered kindergarten. Then after kindergarten, once I was moved up like a grade, I was in a 1st and 2nd grade class, and at kindergarten I was reading at a 3rd, 4th grade level. By the time I was in 4th grade, I was at a college level. Number 4, I read my first Stephen King at age 9, and it was Pet Sematary. Number 5, my favorite genre is horror, though I tend to have a hard time finding really good horror books or horror authors. Number 6, I do not loan books out very often. I only loan them out to certain people who I can trust not to dog your pages, spill shit on them. Pretty much treat them like they have feelings. If you treat your books like you have feelings, I might loan them to you. And the probability of getting them back. If you're somebody who does not give books back and I'm loaning you like The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, you better give that book back or I will come for you. Number 7, when I was in elementary school especially, I would skip recess to either sit in the class or go to the library to read. And if I wasn't reading, I was offering to fill the shelves and, you know, restock the shelves and stuff like that. Like, if I could avoid going outside, because a lot of times I didn't really want to, I'd be bored. So I would rather go to the library or sit and read during recess. Number 8, I will never read like romance. I'm not a big fan of romance. I don't mind it if it's a part of a story, but if it's a central focus of the story, it's just a pass. Like, it just doesn't interest me. Number 9, when I was in the 5th grade, I read all of the Nancy Drew books and I loved them. And it kind of started my love for like mystery thriller kind of deal, even though that's very toned down, but for a 5th grader, Nancy Drew was spooky. Number 10, when I was in middle school, two of my best friends and I, like after school, we would literally walk to our local library. And some days, like if it was raining outside, we'd spend all of our time in the children's section of the library where they had most of the comics. And in that time, I read all of the Tintin comics and all of the Garfield bind-ups. And on the days that it was nice, they had a tree outside and we would climb the tree and we'd have our little, my friend Maggie, who had the money, like we had our little disc player, like CD, you know, portable CD player, or yeah, portable CD player. Why did I thought I misspoke and said DVD. Anyways, we had her portable CD player and she actually had speakers that hooked up into the auxiliary where the headphones went. And we had these little speakers and we listened to good old 90s music. And we would sit in the tree and either read or do our homework. You know, I was an exciting teenager. Number 11, my husband Matt and I went right after we first got together. He was not that much a reader. I mean, he did like to read, but he's not the one that will sit and read, like just sit and read. He's got to be in the mood. But Dean Koontz is one of his favorite authors. And when we first got together, I think we'd been together a year, maybe 2. We had a competition one week to see who could read the most books in 1 week, and I just took out a whole bunch of Dean Koontz books from the library because I don't mind Dean Koontz. Like, I like him just fine, but he's one of my husband's favorites. So I checked them all out. We both worked, so it was like, you know, we didn't have kids at the time, so it made it easier. Of course, I won. I'm a faster reader. Number 12, when I was in middle school, I think it was in middle school or high school. I was either in late middle school, early high school. I don't remember. I was either in 8th or 9th grade. I'm kind of iffy on the year. I think it was early high school. Maybe late middle school. I'm not sure. I can't remember what year the Harry Potter books were released. But when the Sorcerer's Stone was first released in the US, my dad actually put a hold on to be able to buy the book for me when it first came out, because I love horror and witches and, you know, scary stuff. So he knew that it was a story about witches and wizards and all that. So he figured that I'd love it. I told him, I was like, no, I'd heard a little bit about it. I was like, you know, it's for 11, 10-year-olds. Like, that's too young for me, Dad. That's stupid. I don't want to read it. So I told him no, and he actually took the hold off the book. So if he wouldn't have, and I wouldn't have been a dumbass and said yes, I would have started reading Harry Potter right when it first came out. But I didn't, because I told him no. And so moving on into number 13, I didn't read Harry Potter until the first movie was released in 2001, it was fall of 2001, which was my senior year of high school. So the movie was coming out, everybody was talking about it, everybody had gone to see it and said they loved it and blah, 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 blah. So I was like, okay, well, I'm the one, I have to read the books before I see the movies. So I went and bought books 1, 2, 3, and 4, because, Goblet of Fire was the last one that had been released before the movie had come out. I read them, binge read them all, became super obsessed like most people do with Harry Potter. And so for Order of the Phoenix, Half-Blood Prince, and the Deathly Hallows, I was that person waiting in line at midnight to buy them when they first came out. But yeah, I didn't start reading Harry Potter until I was a senior in high school, and I could have read it a little earlier. So I didn't grow up with Harry Potter. I read most of it when I was an adult or a very young adult. But yeah, I didn't start reading the books till the movies came out, which then segues into number 14. I have to read a book before seeing the movie. Number 15, I am not a fan of classics. It really depends. I've tried a whole bunch of them. Their writing style is usually way too dry for me. I mean, I'm one of those ones, you gotta hook me fast, and if you don't, like, I'm just gonna set it aside. I have no interest. So I have a hard time with very character-driven novels. I need something that's keeping me interested in propelling the story along. So classics and I don't really get along. Number 16, of all the required reading I was supposed to do in high school, which included a whole class that was just Shakespeare, there was only one book that I ever completed that was required reading in high school, and that was To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. All the other ones were either boring, I didn't like it, whatever, and I would either just skim it enough to know the information to write the paper that I needed to write to pass, or, you know, remember what Sparks Notes are, for all you older people who didn't have Google like right on hand to be able to look up anything you wanted? Yeah, that came in handy a couple of times. Number 17, I am a strict DNFer. If you do not hook me within 100 pages, I'm done. Similarly, if I'm reading a book and I'm really enjoying it and I set it down for whatever reason, either to pick up a new book that I got or something else I'm interested in, if I set you down and it's been a couple of days or up to a week, there's a very small chance that I will pick it up again. Number 18, the most books that I've read in a day is 3. Number 19, if it wasn't for BookTube, my reading would be very limited. I was in a reading slump for over 2 years because of not knowing what to read next. I'd read all of my favorite authors' books, or, you know, somebody like Stephen King, where I haven't read all of his books. It was just like, it was too much. Like, I was just tired of the same authors, and I had a really hard time finding something new to read or a new author to read that I would enjoy. So Goodreads helped a tiny bit, and other people's recommendations helped a bit, but I don't have a lot of reader friends. So finding BookTube was perfect, because then all of a sudden I had a huge list of stuff to try to read, and that really jump-started my reading again, and I'm forever grateful for that. Number 20, it freaks me out if a book has my name in it. Bobby is not a very common name at all, and if you see it in any book, it's usually somebody who's either older, like way older than me, like a lot older, or it's, you know, a book that is set in an older time. So very rarely do I see it in books. And when I do, it freaks me out. It pulls me out of the story, honestly. And a lot of the time I do that thing, I don't know if you guys have ever done this thing, where if you stare at a word for a really long time and all of a sudden it doesn't feel like it's real. No, just me? I do that a lot, and so eventually if my name's in a book, and I will get into that state where I'm just kind of like, eh, and a lot of times I find it really hard to finish a book if it has my name in it. And last one, number 21, I have no soul. Trigger warnings don't really affect me, and I think it has something to do with my love of horror. Like, all the trigger warnings don't really affect me. The only one that really, like, makes me uncomfortable is child abuse, like, child sexual assault, or rape, for anybody under the age of like 14. That really bothers me. But anything else, like rape doesn't bother me. I guess it's because I can pull myself out of the story enough to where I know it's fake, I know it's just a story or whatever. Like, it doesn't deeply affect me like it does some other people. And maybe it's because I haven't had much trauma in my life to where that would trigger me. But most trigger warnings don't bother me at all. Okay guys, that's it. That's 21 bookish facts about me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down below some of your odd bookish facts. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.